want to hear from you, so I guess I'll open up the floor with Chief Stringer. I'm Chief Stringer with the Baytown Police Department. Excuse me for not standing up to speak. I've got a back issue that I have to treat it tomorrow. But I've been here for a little over 3.5 years now, and one of the things we want to make sure we continue to do is open up our relationship with citizens. We were talking about the culture change that we've been working on within the department since I came in, and making sure that we have good relationships with our citizens, that we hear your comments, your concerns, but also any ideas you might have to partner with the police department to help us have a better impact on the quality of life and reduce the opportunity for any type of criminal activity that occurs in our city. I've got a varied background, having worked narcotics, SWAT, held every rank in my previous police department up to interim chief of police, and like I said, I was lucky enough to and blessed to have the opportunity to come here and work with this great department. This is Assistant Chief Doris. I'll let him introduce himself to you as well.
Good evening, everybody. Assistant Chief Doris, Steve Doris. I've been with the department about 26 years now. I've been in the business about 32, going on 33. So I've kind of seen the evolution of our organization over the past couple of decades now. Just kind of echo what the chief said. One of the things that we've always considered ourselves pretty good at is catching bad guys. One of the things that we recognized several years ago that we really needed to start emphasizing is community relations. Getting out and building relationships with those members of our community. Similar to the chief, I've got a varied background. I've done just about everything in the organization, from patrol to narcotics to PIO to you name it. I've done quite a few things in the department. Held just about every rank in the department as well. So I currently oversee the uniform services, which is kind of a new name. We just went through an organizational restructure. So I oversee all the patrol operations and traffic management teams and all the special teams, SWAT, bomb dive, HET, and all those things. So I'll let Lieutenant Crow introduce himself too. He's kind of the guy that the glue that holds everything together for me.
I'm Aaron Kroll. I'm a lieutenant here with the police department. I've been in Baytown 24 years. I currently oversee our traffic management team and our crime prevention unit in the Uniform Services Bureau, as well as a variety of special projects as well. Again, like these two, I have a pretty wide variety of experience through the department. I've spent a significant portion of my career in the investigations world, both as a criminal investigator, working everything from white-collar crime to crimes against children, to technology-based crimes, and then I spent another significant portion of my career both in undercover and plainclothes narcotics and special operations assignments. I've had the luck to be involved in several very progressive technology forward projects within the police department, and so I try and always look for ways to provide a better service to the public through force multipliers, whether it's personnel, technology, equipment, things of that nature. And so in this position that I'm in, I oversee 2 units that can have a real strong impact on our community. So.
Did you start at 5 or something?
I did. I was 3 years old when I started.
Okay. 24 years.
It's our outreach to the youth.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe you started with DARE or something. I don't know.
No, I was 23 when I started here. I'm a former United States Marine Corps veteran, and Eagle Scout on top of that. So.
Cool. You don't look 24.
Don't let him fool you. When he made lieutenant, he started getting some gray hair. That's about when I started.
So that's why I'm
Administrative rank.
yeah,
You look this way.
the beard has a lot more gray in it. So.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe I could look.
So now we got our standard introductions out the way. I'd like to open up the floor for questions.
You didn't introduce yourself, sir.
I did. Did I introduce myself? I'm Ken Griffith. I am your District 3 City Council member. I'm in my 3rd year on council. I am up for election this year. It's been an honor to serve my district, the district that I grew up in. I'm a 40-year resident of Baytown. Most of my time in Baytown is spent in District 3. I'm a first-generation American. My parents are from Great Britain, and I was born in New York, and I grew up here, and I'm happy to call Baytown home. Been a lot of places, but Baytown is a very special place, and what makes it special, in my opinion, are you, the people. And it's been an honor to serve the district I grew up in and represent District 3. Graduated from Lee High School. I'm currently on the board of a behavioral health nonprofit, self-employed right currently, and I do community outreach through that nonprofit as well. So that's me in a nutshell. Any questions about me? Anything you'd like to know? Nothing? Okay. So I'm gonna turn it over to you. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your questions, your concerns, and give you the appropriate response to those questions and concerns. So with that said, I want to open up the floor. It seems like people here have a lot of questions. There's a lot of things that's happened in our district in the last couple of months, and I'd like to hear back from you, my constituents. So, also, just in, this is our, come up, sit here, we got a seat for you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
I don't know if y'all know him, but this is our mayor, Mayor Charles Johnson. So how y'all feeling tonight?
Hi. Fantastic.
Good deal.
Mayor, why don't you introduce yourself?
For those of you who may not know me, my name is Charles Johnson, Baytown Mayor, served on council for 6 years. Been on council as mayor for a little over 6 months now, and these are exciting times for our city. Wanted to be here to support Mr. Griffith and hearing from you all, and also hearing about the wonderful job our police department is doing when it comes to crime. When I was elected, I had a meeting with y'all. How long was that meeting that day? About 3 hours, maybe?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Close to it, sir.
Well, I toured the facility, got an opportunity to look at statistics and see how crime is falling in our city, including violent crime, and how we compared to other cities in the area. We are on the right trajectory when it comes to crime and our city being the safest city in Harris County.
That's our goal. We got a lot of work to do, but that is our goal.
And we're headed in the right direction. So I'm glad to be here and can't wait to hear what you all have to say.
I got some.
Yes, sir.
I moved here 2003. Doing a homeless here, provider. I know a lot about union. I was in union for 50 years. When I moved here, I've seen a lot of stuff happen out there in East Point. I live right on the corner of Stone Bridge and East Point. I get to see it all. The day leaving, I got to see it all. I got to see people cut, I call it cut the cheese at the light at Wallacefield and Gore.
Yeah.
Haul butt down Stone Bridge, don't stop, haul butt down East Point. You know, when we was talking about this incident that's happened this past week, 3 weeks prior to that, my tailgate and bumper got stolen off my truck, sitting in my yard. 2014, I had a pickup sitting in my yard. The passenger tires got stuck, and when they got busted and everything inside the stove, there's some police reports. I think it's 14, 13. Before that, about 3 years, my wife's car sitting in the drive, it got painted, the fence got painted, and what the police department told me then, it was a gang. They wrote like stuff like family something upside down. And about 3 years before that, they jumped my fence, opened my fence, did something, got in there and stowed all my equipment out on the boat. Well, only thing I figured out on getting in my backyard, I had cracks between the fence. I was the first one, and I got in trouble in the association. They had no more cracks between my fence. My fence is solid. Nobody can sit in the backyard now. I want to know where we stand. You know, there was a lot of shots fired the other night. Scary. When my truck got broke in 2 years ago, there was a female come out. And then the other day, a month ago now, the same thing was asked. What would I do? I said, you know, it's gotten so bad when I mow my yard out there and see people hauling. I'm not talking about 30 and 40. I'm talking about 50, 60, 70 miles an hour.
I
on
agree.
East Point.
Same on my
Agree.
street.
I've stepped out there and do this, trying to slow them down. And I've had them turn around and come back and pull this trigger on me. I'll just raise my shirt, show them. I carry a big one on the side of them.
Same here.
You know, it's getting to where you gotta protect yourself, but how far can we go? These people the other night were serious. I mean, watch the video. Them shots could have taken somebody out.
I'd like to interrupt real quick. And with this gentleman here, I don't know him, never met him, but on my street, it's become the same way as we have not residents on my street, the ones that use my street.
Yeah.
They're, I guarantee you, 50, 60 mile an hour. And I'm just like him. There's a couple that I've walked out there because I know what time of day that they come down through there, and I'm just like him. They slow their butt down when I walk out there with my pistol on my hip. And, but it shouldn't take that. And on his side, this is my third summer in Baytown, moving here, or in this area, in Baytown, Texas. And I have to say that, sorry, I know you guys have more than what you can handle most of the time, but we do not get the coverage of police in our neighborhood that we should have for different items, such as speed. There's one kid lives over on North Holly with a Mustang that everybody on that little network that you guys have calls, what, Next Door or something like that, that everybody has complained about with his loud ass exhaust, 50, 60 mile an hour down Burnett, and stuff like that. We understand, like he says, that you have 83,000 people in this neighborhood, or in this city, to take care of, and we're a small part of that. But it would be nice to see one of you at least once a week through our neighborhood, you know what I mean? I can honestly say and agree with him, I haven't seen a policeman on my street in 4 months, 5 months. And the only reason I saw that is because the people 3 doors down had a problem, and 3 of them showed up to take care of that problem, and they're all kicked out of that house and gone. Since then, that's the only time in 3 years, or 3 summers of moving here, June of 2022, that I've only seen policemen on my street in Willow Lane. I understand you guys have a lot to do. That's normal, and I respect and I thank you for your service. You know, I was a Marine, I did my service, you guys continue your service and take care of us. Thank you for that. But at least once a week a patrol through our neighborhood of Lakewood, just to tell someone that, hey, we are around. I agree with this gentleman here.
But I agree, but I disagree. I see patrolmen through my neighborhood, but you're not gonna catch them patrolling.
No.
You can look back in the records, you've been there a long time. Probably 7, 8 years ago, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 set up and wrote a gang of tickets for running in stop signs that at the time, the last mayor was city councilman out there and had them stop signs put up trying to slow them down. And it did for a long time. Not anymore. But you can't catch them when you're driving around. You gotta sit on the street. I offered my backyard. I'm the only one, I'm fortunate, I'm the only one in that East Point area that's got a gate in one of my backyard. You know, and y'all can back in my deal and catch them. I've got a 24-foot boat, and I have pulled up from fishing, trying back in my backyard, and they won't even slow down. I've been feared I'm gonna get hit broadside trying to back my boat in my backyard that I own. I pay the taxes on. I own the truck, I own the boat, but they have flown by me in front of me and almost hit the curb. Because they can't make it in one turn. You know, I gotta back it in there, pull forward, back up again. But it's bad out there. Look back through the records, and I was retired at the time, so it's been since 2018, I guess. One policeman was between Stonebridge and the road you live on. What's the name of it?
East Point. Mill Creek.
Mill Creek, there you go. He was somewhere in between there, and I went and shook his hand. And he goes, "I'll be right back." He took off. When he called somebody to run the stop sign, he come back. He said, "If it's a little roll, everybody's gonna do that. Yeah, we've all done it." He said, "But those that have no intentions, you can't tell." I've been sitting in my yard and see kids on bicycles riding through there and cut that corner and seen cars coming down East Point to cut on coming down East Point to turn on Stonebridge. And if one of them kids be riding that bicycle, he's gone. I have gone to 2 houses about their kids riding go-karts. I don't know for sure. I was told one thing, but I did call the cops about a year ago. Big 4-wheel drive out there. Big old tires on it. Through the neighborhood, loud, never stopped. And I walked out there, did a sign to them, and I get the good old bird sign, and they keep going. Well, about 15 years old, so I got fed up one day, called the cops. And he was in the area and come here, and while he was talking to me, goes, "Is that what I hear?" So he goes out, he goes down Mill Creek, he went up another road, and they come from in front of elementary flying. And he flew in behind them, put the lights on, and caught them right almost in front of my house, a little bit down. All kinds of tickets. They're not allowed on the streets, number one. And I'm talking, I know them as go-karts. My truck has got a lift kit and it's up high. I can't see them go-karts out there. I had one guy screamed at his kids one day. I knew they was going to get the daddy. Here he come. When he drove up, I backed up this side of the sidewalk like I was told to do. And I dared him to walk across the other side of the sidewalk. And then when he started chewing on me, I said, "You stop a minute." Whipped out my phone and showed him on a video and asked his son,
Which street are you on?
live in East Point.
Okay,
I live on corner of Stonebridge and East Point.
okay.
And I know you guys is full. I don't know how many policemen's on the force, but to stop that out there, it's gonna take somebody to come out every now and then. I give you a good one. A month before schools let out, the car on East Point that flipped over. I was drinking coffee at 6 o'clock and I heard it hit. I didn't know what it was. So I walk out there and there was 2 or 3 policemen there already. One of them asked me, he said, "You got cameras?" And I said, "No, I don't." I took him down. He goes, "There's no way this girl can be doing 30 and hit that parked car and flip over on her top." And I said, "Yeah, look right over there on that corner. That's kids fixing to catch a school bus."
I agree with him in the sense of the neighborhood and what's happening. But on the other hand, I respect you guys and see your side also. In Baytown, doing my research, we are undermanned, or you are undermanned totally in our police force for the area that you have to cover. But an example of him saying, set and see the area, if you want to go, if one of your patrolmen would like to make his quota for the week, just go, no, I'm joking, but just tell him to go sit on the corner of Wildwood and Wild Rose, that 3-way stop sign. No one stops at that damn thing. 80% of them go right through that. And the reason I know that, because my sister lives 2 houses from it, and my niece, which has cerebral palsy, and we sit out there and complain about it, but they come down Wildwood, her street, that 3-way stop, which actually Wildwood goes to the right instead of straight, turns into Wild Road. That stop sign it's not even a yield, you know? So if one of your officers would like to make his quota for the month, all he's gotta sit there is around 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock, he can get 6 or 8 tickets minimum, or early in the morning, because they just fly through that. That stop sign is not even there. And that's going back to what this gentleman said of, you know, of being able to sit there, which you don't have the manpower to set someone at a particular spot. But if that's just an example, if you had that manpower, you can wipe people out sitting there at that one little stop sign, you know? That's, I mean, I don't know how much a ticket is to run a stop sign, but I guarantee in a week, we can buy the mayor lunch for 3 or 4 weeks, you know?
No, you
Off
can't,
that,
because
off that amount.
I'm
Chief
not
Stringer?
taking any money.
If you use your charming personality,
just
your
saying,
I'm
personal
not taking
skills,
any payments from.
I know you want your officers to be police officers, not
Yes, sir.
Money,
Mr.
you
Mayor,
can make
okay.
money off that.
We want to give everybody a chance to address, and is there a particular question, or is it, or?
I just, and there at my sister's house, I drive my golf cart over there and talk to them every now and then. And I just like, how do you guys put up with this? That stop sign is just like not even a yield. It's a right on through Wildwood. Have you ever seen it?
I know what you're talking about,
You know which one I'm talking about? That 3-way,
yes.
number one, why would you have 3 stop signs on a triangle? Either here and there or whatever, but anyhow, yeah, it's not even a good yield. They
It's not
zip
necessarily
right,
the tickets
they
I'm worried
zip
about,
right through it.
it's the.
And there's
children.
other areas, like he said, in our neighborhood, that you would have to put officers sitting there to see that particular problem that we have. And personally, I know in my research, we don't have the manpower for you to set someone for an hour or 2 at a certain location to do that. So that's just like a catch me if you can type thing. But just an example, that one little
Thank you,
street.
sir. And I've got notes on it, and I'm gonna ask Lieutenant Kroll that has, traffic management under him to make sure.
I just use,
My family and I use these roads as well. I've got a 16-year-old daughter that's out driving.
well,
So
my
I want her to be
sister
safe as well.
takes care of her granddaughter, which has cerebral palsy, you know.
Yes, sir.
And the city put up signs of, you know, of her in her wheelchair, can't hear.
And then I'll
if,
get,
if you wanna free your people up until they can be you don't want them to be traffic cops when you need crime patrol. A simple answer for this, and every citizen hates them, speed bumps.
Can't do 'em.
You're not gonna have the cars going
Can't do
50
'em.
miles an hour over
Can't do 'em.
speed bumps, huh?
Can't do them. Ask them, can't be put in. We've asked them, we begged for them, can't be put in.
And then you won't have a shooting when somebody sees him with a gun and decides they're gonna come back and shoot first. To me, speed bumps, I mean, people slowed up for the speed bumps on Pin Oak. We don't like them.
We
I
got
don't like them.
sluggos in streets worse than speed bumps would be, but we can't do speed bumps.
Hmm?
We got sluggos on road worse than speed bumps would be on.
If you're
Okay, I'm just saying it's cheaper than
Running the
officer.
speed limit
It'll work.
in Lake.
It'll free your officers up to do what they need to be doing.
through engineering.
You know,
And the speed
not
bumps,
driving fast enough
speed
to
bumps,
speed bumps,
speed
like
calming
ours.
devices, they all go through engineering.
There's a whole process.
There's a process. I believe you gotta do, volume surveys and stuff like that. It's not to say that we can't talk to them and see what they might be able to do to partner with us to try to make it a little bit safer.
Yeah, you're looking at an application.
I think the speed bumps for Lakewood were turned down.
Yeah, there has been,
They turned down Lakewood Estate also.
Yeah, I'm also the communication liaison with Public Works and Engineering, so the speed calming program has been temporarily discontinued for now. There is a process and application, and they have a whole survey that they do, but at the moment there is no traffic engineer with the city, therefore there is no way to execute these speed tests for the neighborhood, so that's why the program has been discontinued.
so what I'm gonna do though is
Speed bumps help, I agree, but I go to golf 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, down Pin Oak toward Bayway. And those 2 speed bumps, the one right before the stop sign and then the other one on down toward Bayway. When people are on the way to work in the morning, and I'm driving down there at the speed, 20, 25 mile an hour, even though people should be happy. Our speed limit is 30, which national standard for a residential area is 25. But anyhow, those speed bumps, I've had people pass me on the way to work at 8 o'clock in the morning going to golf and hit those speed bumps, and it's like, flip. So, you know, they're just a light deterrent. It's one of those, yeah, they are. Do we spend tons of money to put another speed bump in that people's just gonna fly over
I run
anyway?
across speed bumps, that gun, if you're doing over 30, they're gonna tear your car up.
Yeah.
So
Let's
I
move
can't
on.
believe that. So,
Yeah, so,
the next deal, we got more serious.
Mr. Sherbeck, and then I'll get to you, Mr. Detweiler.
Thank you, Mr. Griffith. I guess first I've got kind of a general question. I'm hoping maybe the chief can give me the insight on this. I guess I should start by explaining the perception that I had. Being in Baytown for a long time, I've always had the perception that our council and city has always been very, pro-cop, giving you guys what you need. Recently, some folks, and I don't know if it's just, political strategy, advocating for certain things or whatever, but I've heard some say that we need to fully fund the police department. And to me, that means that you aren't fully funded if we need to be fully funded. I guess I started thinking about it, and I've seen where you guys are advertising extremely high sign-on bonuses, first-year salaries. I've shared them to my cop friends to try and get them to get some good people here, and they said that's amazing. Obviously, the biggest thing I always hear is I don't want to serve in Harris County. I guess what I'm wondering is, what does it mean for the police department to be fully funded? I mean, I don't think it's everything on your Christmas list that you get. And do you think that the mayor and Mr. Griffith and the rest of the council are not fully funding your department?
No, I believe that we're supported by the council and the mayor. I think that, given the resources, they would probably love to give us more if they could. The police department has been a financial partner with the rest of the city departments, and we have looked at our operations and looked at ways that we can save money, and we've been able to do that. A lot of it is thanks to the CCPD fund that we have. We've been able to fund other things through that, but we have a good salary range. We have some of the best equipment that I've ever seen in law enforcement. This is my third agency. I spent most of my time with my last agency. The opportunities are really good, and we have incredible training as well. As a matter of fact, we have agencies from, I guess, all over the state, or certainly Southeast Texas, come here to train with our instructors and the classes that we offer.
Yes, sir. So you wouldn't think that we have any.
I've seen you guys in action because.
Sir, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I want him to get his questions out, and then.
And so you don't think that we have any council member, anyone at the city that's, anyone could be considered in the defund the police category? I mean, I certainly don't think that. Not that you're aware of. Okay, I didn't think so, but there's been at least a perception or a question out there.
So we are able to.
And I want to make sure that my perception was valid.
With us, we are able to provide the services that we need to provide with the budget that we're given. And we actually had a meeting about that today. We try to be good stewards of the money that's given. All of us in the command staff realize that it's not enough. Are there other things that we would love to be able to do to bring on additional officers if we could? Sure, but the financial realities are different. And one of the things that we talk about is this is the operational environment that we have to work in. So we have to be good stewards of the money, prioritize where we're going to spend that money, what programs we're going to spend it on, and what equipment we're going to spend it on. And for us, it's very important to have good, safe equipment. It's important to have good quality training for a lot of different reasons. Number one is officer safety. If our officers aren't safe, they can't go out and protect our citizens. Number two is it helps reduce liability, right? A well-trained police officer is confident because they're competent. And that's one of the things that I believe that I was fortunate enough to be able to come into this department and have that already in place, really, really good training. But we've also begun, like we talked about earlier, a culture shift towards making sure that our officers who are very well trained are getting out in the community and building relationships with our citizens as well. And that's something that, honestly, you don't have to have additional funding for that, because it ought to be not a program or what we do, it should be our identity. It should be who we are. We're public servants. I remember my first week of the police academy a long time ago. Sergeant John Reed in Huntsville, Alabama quoted Sir Robert Peel, who founded the London Metro. That's what the bobbies are nicknamed after. And one of his tenets of policing is the police are the public and the public are the police. And that stuck with me. And the older I get, the more that means something to me. So if we're out there in the community and we see things like you're talking about, we need to be addressing it. But also if we can partner with the citizens, maybe we can solve some quality of life issues that would otherwise lend themselves to criminal activity and reduce the opportunity for crime to occur in the first place to addressing the environment in which it could occur. And those are things that we're working on too. That doesn't require a whole lot of money on that side of it. So we're able to do those things. We are able to get creative and LT, innovative was the word that was used in our
That's one of the words.
Our meeting. So with what we're allotted, we've got really good people who can stretch those funds like you would even a family budget, right? Is how can I get the best use of the money that we're given?
And if I could add to that, just kind of go back to the root of your question, which was kind of the relationship between police and council and, as we call it, Market Street, right? I won't speak necessarily for the first, say, 5 years of my career, because I wasn't really concerned about that piece of it. I was only concerned about catching bad guys. But I can tell you but by and large, over the past 25 years or so, 25 years, we've always had a good working relationship with Market Street. That every council that's
I thought so.
Every mayor and city manager and whatnot, they've all been very supportive of public safety. And yes, we have back and forth about priorities and about different things, as you would expect, right? That's what management does, right? We kind of negotiate things out to get what we need to do, what we need to do. But no, there's, in my experience here that I've been in Baytown, there's never really been an adversarial relationship. And we all of us always try to work towards a common goal.
Yes, sir. So it sounds like both of you say that your department is fully funded by the city.
I would say that we do very well with the funds that we're given.
Thank you.
Anything else for now?
Where did you hear that it wasn't fully funded?
Well, it was on Facebook. A few people were advocating for, and I'm just presuming here. I don't know, but it was around the timing of some of the negotiations about the municipal police contract, and I remember more than one person saying that. And it was also at the time that the Harris County Sheriffs got the big raise, and so it was within that time.
Yeah, and so I think what you're referring
and so somebody said we should fully fund.
So I think what you're referring to is when during the last week meetings with the raise that went into effect for the police department, that was something that we had to absorb within our budget. And again, that was about $1.39 million, if I remember correctly. We were able to shift that burden to the CCPD. So that CCPD is incredibly important to us and vital to our operations. Without that, we would have had some very hard decisions to make. So we're very fortunate that we had that.
How many officers are you short of your goal of having fully staffed?
So right now, we are within, help me out guys, 6?
We're about 95%.
Yeah, so we're actually 7.
Yeah, okay, 7. So yeah, we remain at about 95% staff, and we can't quite get over that hump. We've been there for, I suppose, the last year and a half to 2 years.
What's the average of vacancies in police departments normally?
It depends. It depends on, the market that they're in, the type of cities, the type of criminal activity that they have. It also depends on the type of funding and benefits. You know, of course, HPD just got a big raise, and they're gonna be competitors for us, and it's gonna be somebody that we're gonna have to compete with for good quality police officers.
I mean, you just had some good guys retire in the last year or two too, so.
But having 7 vacant positions, I don't think we've been that low in years, right?
Actually,
16 in
when I first came to Baytown, we were down to 157, and we were allotted 173 at that point. Does that sound right? And we started a new recruitment team and began recruiting in different areas. We began training our people on how to recruit and became a little bit more aggressive about it. We also developed a lateral transfer program to offer some opportunities for other police officers from other agencies.
And you know, on that front, you know, one of the challenges that we face quite often from a personnel perspective is, you know, we do big hiring pushes where we try to hire a lot of people, right? Which we did, you know, 20 plus years ago. Well, the problem with that, it's great on the front end. The bad thing is on the back end, they all come up due for retirement about the same time. So you start seeing people leave. You know, and the unique thing about police department especially, from a hiring perspective is, you know, most places somebody gets hired, they're a functional part of the organization within a couple of months, 6 months tops, right? For us, if we hire somebody fresh off the street, you're talking about 18 months before they actually are a productive member of the organization. By the time they go to, we do the hiring process, they go through an academy, they get through field training, and they get out to where they're actually answering calls for service. So that's one of our big challenges. We have people leave, well, to backfill those, it takes time. And that's one of the reasons our lateral program is so important. What makes our lateral program successful is us being competitive with other agencies from a compensation package. That's one of the things that makes it successful.
And like I said, we do the best we have with the budget that we're given. Like I said, we had to reduce right at $1.4 million last budget to accommodate for the raises that were well deserved. The officers work hard for them. They go out here, they get after it every single day. Then we had another $350 that we were asked to find savings in, and so whether you want to call them cuts or shifts, that's the money that came out of our operations. And again, they went into CCPD, and that's the reason that fund is so important for us. Is without that, now you are looking at true cuts.
How much is on the line for CCPD? I'm sorry.
That's the Crime Control Prevention District.
It's about $2.6 million.
Yeah. And it's not a new tax. It's a sales tax considered a consumption tax. It's not unlike a lot of the people that pass through Baytown, if they're purchasing things, fuel, restaurants, that sort of thing. They could end up using our services as well. So this gives an opportunity to fund some of the services that we provide, even people who aren't citizens in Baytown.
So a lot's riding on that CCPD November bond, is that what you're saying?
This is very important, yes, sir.
And so that has to pass electoral muster?
Yes, sir.
So one of the things embedded in that CCPD bond, I should say, is that a proper term?
It's a sales tax.
Yeah, sales tax.
So-
Yeah, it's a sales tax.
It's not a bond,
It's not a
it's a
bond.
sales tax.
It's just a renewal of the sales tax.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent.
We
So
get
it
not
is-
a bond.
It is contingent on voter approval.
Every 5 years. It's
So
up.
one of those things I think voters are gonna pay attention to are the ALPR flock cameras, I'm sure you're familiar with. Part of the EEFC, one of these organizations, Watchdog organizations, talked about over 83,000 cameras being tapped to find a woman who was suspected of having an abortion here in Texas and leaving state lines. I think that does its own talking as far as what susceptibility of individuals' privacies could be at risk in that regard. There's also individuals who are suspected of being an illegal immigrant, but haven't been proven to do so. They've also been followed as well. So my question is to you, and perhaps more importantly, our elected officials, the mayor and our district representative here, whether or not they agree or plan to approve or support that piece of legislation that includes the Flock Cameras, that I just laid out that are susceptible to following people and violating their liberty. What are your
So
thoughts?
what piece of legislation, because I don't believe we are discussing, voting on anything.
The sales tax, CCPD sales tax coming up in November, that's what I'm
Well,
referring to.
number one, I would go out on a limb and say our police department isn't using it to track people. Am I correct?
I wouldn't expect
explain-
that from our Baytown
Correct.
police.
Can-
I'm asking
can-
you if it leaves us susceptible to any
But
violation.
in order to answer that question, I gotta have facts. And I'm gonna ask the police chief to explain how the flock cameras work.
As a matter of fact, in a second, when I'm gonna give you an overview. After he explains it, I'll let you know what my position is.
Sure.
I'll let Lieutenant Kroll, who was the project manager for a while. This is an investigative tool. It does not establish probable cause. It supplements good police work. And like any other tool, yes, there is a possibility that it could be misused.
Okay.
The NCIC system that has been around for years and years is probably more susceptible to misuse. There are more audits being done, help me with this if I'm wrong, with the flock camera systems than what you actually see through the national, the NCIC. We recently revised our policy during an annual review to make it even more robust, to make sure that our people understand what's expected of them and how it's to be used. Lieutenant Crow, can you kind of give us a little bit more information?
Yeah, so there's several factors that come into play, right? There's also nuance to the cases that you have brought up that aren't exactly clear when you say it was used to track a woman who had an abortion. There's nuance in that case, right? We utilize our case for criminal investigations. There has to be a criminal predicate for us to utilize the cameras. We are prohibited from using them for immigration enforcement purposes by our policy. Our policy is publicly available on our transparency portal, which is linked through the Baytown Police Department website. It'll give you specifics on how the system is used, how statistically, the amount of vehicles it sees in a month, the number of searches that are conducted within a month. The data that we take in on that system is maintained for 30 days only, and then it is overwritten. It's uploaded to a cloud-based, system whose security meets federal guidelines for criminal justice information through, I believe, the Amazon Web Service. We have a very robust auditing and security and training process that goes into our policy before our officers are allowed to use the program. It is audited on a quarterly at minimum basis for usage on 3 different factors. The users all have to have current and compliant training by departmental policy. We have to provide a criminal predicate for the search, so there has to be a case number, there has to be a legal justification for that search. And for information that we input into the system, it has to meet the same standards. So say, for example, there's a vehicle that was stolen. If we're going to flag that vehicle in the system, we have to have a criminal case linked to that vehicle. There's a case number attached to it. So the program is overseen by a lieutenant who conducts regular audits on the program and ensures compliance. When we crafted the policy, incorporated, I believe it was 7 different points that the ACLU had pushed out for privacy concerns regarding this type of product and system in an effort to be transparent and compliant with it. There has been concern expressed by Mr. Schoenbeck and others that there wasn't citizen input taken when this system was, when we entered into a contract to utilize the system.
I recall that.
And that's a fair point. I guess the call it a mistake or whatnot when we entered into this project was we made an assumption that the public was aware that this technology has been involved in law enforcement for decades and we've been using it for decades. It's just like the flashlight we carry on our belt, so it's not something that we thought was going to be as controversial, but we have gone above and beyond the basic standards in implementing a program of this type to ensure that the data is secure, that it's being used appropriately, and that citizens' rights are being protected.
I appreciate that, and I just, in terms of facts, I'm just quoting the Electronic Frontier Foundation.
Absolutely, I'm very familiar with them.
Excellent, and what they've reported regarding some of these. There's been over 4,000 cases. If you're telling me Baytown's not one of them, I think that's a relief to some extent. Using these flock cameras to chase suspected illegal immigrants based on the license plate readings. And I just wanted to make sure. So could you tell me how much money is on the line?
For Flock?
Just for the Flock alone?
Just for Flock, it's, I believe, $198,000 out of the 2.57 million or whatever the total budget is.
So, when police chief had said how important this is, the CCPD, and having to pass electoral muster in November, I thought that intensity or that importance would be matched by who you appoint to that committee. Right now, we have a, 23-year-old kid as the chairman of that committee. How is he serving, and how do you expect that committee to get this passed in November when we're passing a bond at the same time? And frankly, I think anti-taxpayer sentiment is at an all-time high. Do you expect for it to pass in November? And if it doesn't pass in November, what does the police plan to do if this isn't passed?
As far as the makeup of the committee goes, that's a city council purview. They're the ones that appoint the members of the committee. As a department, and I'll let the chiefs correct me if I'm wrong, but we have a very open line of communication with CCPD, with the committee. And we've had a very good working relationship with them over the decades that CCPD has been a thing for us. CCPD went into effect 2008. Well, we had CCPD prior to that, and then it failed, and then 5 years later, it was voted back in. So the current iteration of CCPD has been around since, I believe, 2008, and it's reauthorized every 5 years. So we've had a good working relationship with the board of CCPD.
So what responsibility does the chief and the rest of the police take if it's voted down in November?
Well, then we're gonna have to find funds somewhere else, and we'll have to approach the council on how we can fund some of the projects that we use it for.
But as you explained earlier, this is your gambit to put some of this funding from the general fund over to the CCPD.
It's already been done. Yes, for instance, capital items, vehicles, marked vehicles are purchased through it. Some of our unmarked vehicles are also purchased through it. Important now, it's the new DNA, if you will.
Sure.
It's the first thing that our prosecutors and the DA's office are going to be asking for on major crimes. We have digital information. I would say the majority of our digital forensics is funded through that, and that's more than Flock, if I'm not mistaken. Significantly more, right? So yes, it's incredibly important. But those are things that we need to be able to continue to provide good services to our citizens. We do, and to be able to have a situation where we're not in a queue with another agency waiting on them to get to our digital forensic evidence for extraction. So we can do it in-house. We have highly trained people, and to be able to do that in-house with the funds that this provides is incredibly important.
And you don't see any or foresee any electoral implications running this at the same time as a bond?
I don't know. I try to stay out of politics, man. I think it's incumbent upon us, because we can't advocate one way or another on the vote. That's unethical for us to do. The only thing we can do is educate on it.
If it's unethical, okay, I see.
So we can just educate. This is what it is. This is what it's used for, and these are the consequences or the benefits of what happens if we keep it or don't keep it.
So am I mistaken? Have I seen Facebook social media posts from Baytown Police advocating for the CCPD and the incorporated flock cameras?
Well, they haven't been advocating for it. We've been educating that these items are funded through CCPD.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Lieutenant Crow, since we're talking about the flock cameras, I just want to provide a little insight. I don't think your answers were actually provided all of the correct information.
Sure.
Now, from what I understand from Evanston, Illinois, and some of the other ones, the way that ICE was able to access local agency data was because they had opted into the National Lookup Service, which means that they didn't have to call up Evanston and say, hey, give us your data, and they didn't need Evanston to do anything. So you're saying the Baytown Police isn't doing anything about that,
correct.
But I have verified that you have opted into the National Lookup System. So doesn't that mean ICE, ATF, any of these other agencies can use your information since you're reciprocating the information without your permission?
They have our permission to
They're
utilize the
federal.
data,
They don't
whatever
need their
they're legally
permission.
allowed to use the information for. our department is prohibited from policy, or by policy, from utilizing it for immigration enforcement.
Right, but ICE
If
isn't,
other-
and
if other
that's what,
agencies such as ICE
right.
or other federal partners are legally allowed to utilize that system for that type of information, that's on them.
So ICE could be looking for suspects in Baytown using your flock cameras without your permission or knowledge. Is that correct?
Hypothetically, yes.
Okay, great. The other thing is that you mentioned that all of the requests for flock had an associated case number, and
Case number or a valid search reason, to be more specific.
okay, I've did a request and I got several of those. I'm sure you're aware, and I'll tell you, probably 95% of them have an actual case number, and that's great. But there are several of them that do say just investigation, or something that doesn't have a case number, and something very generic that doesn't actually tie it to anything that shows that it's criminality.
Okay.
So, I hope maybe we can take a closer look at that. The other thing is that last year, when we were talking about this at City Council, I know Councilman Griffith, you asked for basically non-anecdotal but evidence that the flock cameras were working, and you said that you were going to provide that to him. You said you've done several audits. Have you received this report, and if so, can the public get it?
I have not received it.
Okay.
Still interested in that evidence and that
Now,
anecdotal data to show that the effectiveness of the cameras.
Okay, maybe we can get that. That was promised, and there are several. There's at least two cities in Texas alone that shut these programs down because of privacy concerns: Austin and San Marcos. And currently, there is zero federal or state regulation on these, so far as penalties if they're being misused, depending on what they use it for. Obviously, there's crimes for stalking and things like that. Do you think it would be appropriate for the legislature to put guardrails on this system, so far as like retention time, who can have access to it, what they can be used for?
There's multiple answers to that question. The short answer is yes. I think guardrails could be appropriate. Absolutely. I think there are also legal controls in place for officers who have used the system already without additional specific legislation. There's a statute called official oppression, for one.
Yes, sir.
That applies. Additional legal guardrails could be a potential stopgap. Here, at the end of the day, a department has to have regulatory controls over how we utilize technology to enforce, criminal investigations or conduct criminal investigations and things like that.
And to be clear, I am not saying that Baytown, or I know Chief Stringer's a man of character. I've had good conversations with you.
Sure.
I don't think anyone at Baytown PD has the intent to do anything wrong, but I know that you don't hire angels. We are all human beings, and we are all subject to the same vices and frailties and sins of anyone else. And there have been police officers that have been arrested elsewhere for stalking ex-wives. Now, one of the things that we're told that flock cameras were really good for was in the recovery of stolen vehicles. If that's the case, why is it, I'm looking at the stats from 2024, and your clearance rate on auto theft is only 2.3%. So 98% of reported auto thefts were not resolved in 2024. And that percentage is actually down from the previous year, even though we had flock cameras all that year. Are these the kind of results that you expected with flock that we were sold on?
Yeah, so I don't have the specifics on those stats to discuss clearance rates. I'm not involved with that.
Can you talk about how the stats are generated when they're coming in?
Yeah, so from a statistical clearance rate perspective, again, there's kind of related to that when you start talking about auto theft, right? One of the things that you have to keep in mind too about auto thefts and recoveries, talk about flock stuff, is a lot of the auto thefts are vehicles that we recover locally. They originate from outside the city, right? So it's actually stolen in Houston, stolen in Channelview, stolen in Harris County, somewhere like that. And then they make their way into our city, and then we come across them and we arrest them. So that, while it's been very successful in that piece of it, those numbers won't reflect in what our clearance rate is for our auto thefts. But a lot of the times, the vehicles that are stolen in our city, they wind up somewhere else, in Houston and Harris County, down to the border, or what have you.
Yes, sir. Now, we have, Baytown isn't the only one around here that has flock cameras. Harris County has them, Houston Police Department, homeowners associations. We're virtually surrounded by them. So if a vehicle that was reported stolen from Baytown hits a Flock camera in Houston and is stopped by Houston police out there because it was on the hit list, wouldn't that show on our clearance rates as a case that was cleared?
Yes, in theory, yes.
Okay.
Once that vehicle is stolen, they make notification to us that it's recovered, and then we remove it from the system. And then that's dependent on somebody going back to the original report and closing that report out as cleared, closed. That's where the clearance rate comes from. So just because a vehicle is recovered in another agency, another jurisdiction, doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to translate to a clearance number on our clearance.
And correct me if I'm wrong, as part of clearance rates go, again, talking about nuance and layers. If someone is not criminally charged, is that case necessarily going to be closed, or is it going to be inactivated? So part of clearance rates deal with someone actually being arrested and charged for the crime. There was a joke made about working in Harris County. There has been discussion over the years about working with the district attorney's office on charging criminals for crimes and then being held accountable through the judicial system. And so if a vehicle is recovered and no one is arrested out of the vehicle and charged with the crime, that isn't necessarily going to reflect a positive clearance rate.
Didn't that just happen this month where you guys located a Dodge and found people in it and
Correct.
charges were not accepted?
They were, and then
Oh, okay, I'm going from memory from what the
I read the
police.
same press release on Facebook. The charges were accepted and then they were unaccepted. So,
Okay, guys.
which is a DA's office.
With our limited time, I'd like to open the floor to any other questions, if anyone else would like to.
Mr. Dickwell, I know you had a question earlier.
I just know years ago we bought a bunch of license plate reading cameras to enforce insurance, vehicle registration, and stolen vehicles. Are we using those?
Those are red light cameras, and that is not what we have. Those are illegal.
No, license plate, where we ride through the parking lot, you can read the license plate of every car at Walmart, for instance.
Yeah,
see
so if
it's
you're talking about
registered.
license plate recognition technology,
Yes.
that's something we utilize. We do not use it for traffic enforcement purposes, such as checking for current registration or insurance, or if somebody runs a red light or something along those lines.
Why wouldn't we? I
They're-
mean, we got hit by a vehicle, cost us over $500 because the person didn't have insurance or registration.
So there's a constitutionality issue with utilizing traffic enforcement cameras to issue citations that came out as a result of a lawsuit in 2008 timeframe.
Right.
So that means I don't need to register my vehicle anymore?
No, sir.
That's what I'm
No, so
hearing.
those are two different issues.
But you have a right to face your accuser anytime you're accused of any kind of violation of the law, right? That's part of our constitutionally guaranteed rights. And those type of cameras is something that I have never agreed with. I've always had a problem with like the red light cameras and stuff like that. The difference is the ones that we're using now, they don't establish probable cause, just as the red light cameras do. They are an investigative tool. Anytime we get what's called a hit or an active response with the ones that we're using now, our policy and best practices require a independent hit verification. And that's one of the things that we can do random audits for as well for compliance. If Lieutenant Kroll stops a car after receiving a notification from one of these cameras, he can't make the stop specifically just because there was a hit on that camera. He has to verify independent probable cause. And that could be that he runs the license plate through NCIC and he confirms through either our agency or the reporting agency that it was in fact stolen. That is considered probable cause. He can make a stop. And anytime you make a stop or a detention, that is a Fourth Amendment seizure. And you have to be able to justify that based on reasonable suspicion or probable cause. Anything else we need to
No,
add?
that's accurate.
But if you have a sticker on there that says not legal, isn't that probable cause on the windshield?
It is, but that's not how the cameras operate.
I'm just saying, it doesn't seem like
as
we
a police
enforce it.
officer, as a police officer, I have to physically observe the violation.
And not only that, those cameras don't show that, correct?
Correct.
That's not what they're looking at, they're focused on the license plate, right, and the exterior of the car.
So you're saying what would be the question is who's actually operating that motor vehicle at the time? That might be an issue.
And you can't tell.
Yeah, and the LPR cameras aren't gonna tell you who's driving the vehicle, they're not gonna look at they can't see the registration sticker. It's strictly the exterior of the vehicle and the license plate.
But that's all in the computer on the registration and whether it's insured, and it doesn't matter who's driving it.
So an officer would have to physically observe that violation. These aren't used for traffic enforcement.
It seems
So
like,
in other words, what you're saying is that, like, my insurance wouldn't pay me for my damage because they got a hold of police license plate readers and seen it sitting in two parking lots with a dented bumper. So they would not cover it. They said that license plate reader,
We don't share our
two people
information
sitting in
with
two different
private entities.
businesses.
Yeah,
Oh, y'all don't?
I'm not sure
So-
where they would have gotten the photos from, but it didn't come from a police.
It's two
department.
businesses. So I thought, the way I took the impression it was through you guys.
No,
Still
our
need
security
Because all he did
cameras-
was got the license plate reader and seen a dent in my bumper, it would
No,
not
so
pay me for all
private
that.
entities we don't share that data with non-law enforcement related entities.
So it would have to be the
they obtain that-
businesses have their own.
That's probably a safe assumption, but I don't know. Most businesses do.
Now, Lieutenant Flock is
Do you
a,
have a question, ma'am?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I know that we need to observe stop signs, and a lot of this is accountability to the community itself. Like, we should hold our community accountable, because those people running a lot of the stop signs and stuff do live in our community, so I
They don't.
understand that it's important, but I woke up at 4:30 a.m. with gunshots in East Point, and I have lived there for 14 years, and I have never been afraid in my neighborhood, ever. I have walked in my neighborhood at dark, I have left my cars unlocked, I've left my front door unlocked. I have always raved about how great our neighborhood is. I wanna know what you guys are doing to, catch who these people were and are you increasing presence in our neighborhood? What kind of safety can you guys offer me as a citizen?
yeah, and she's a street over from me. Luckily, I wasn't around. I didn't hear any of that. Thankfully, a neighbor with a gun stopped this. And I saw the video, and it looked to me like it was a Glock switch. I don't know if you guys came up with that same conclusion. That rapid fire looked like a Glock switch when they're shooting out of the car.
So what have y'all?
Yeah, what's the status on that? I'd like to tell the people in the
And
community.
these people had how was your son?
12.
In a bedroom right there that a bullet could have went through. The neighbor across the street, he just turned to go to a safe when a bullet went through the window with it.
yeah,
And there's 3 or 4 houses got bullet holes in them.
yeah, one might still, they got to steal a car, is the issue. But
That's been assigned to one of our detectives.
Yeah, they were out in the neighborhood.
Yes, sir. I believe he put out information on our email on some suspects he was looking for, is that right? Yeah, we get a lot of emails, guys, so forgive me
I
if I
got
don't
it.
remember them. But, again, what we're gonna do is, we're gonna make sure that we increase our patrols through that area. And I am sure that the construction that has gone on at the intersection of Wallaceville and Garth Road has forced even more traffic through there, so it probably hasn't helped the traffic issues. People are using it as a cut through. I know I've seen some of my neighbors from Goose Creek Landing come out of there onto Wallaceville next to the park, and then take a right and go into the Goose Creek Landing subdivision. I try to use North Main, so I'm sure that there's a lot of that going on. They're using it like a detour and a bypass to get around that single lane at that intersection.
You could take like these people weren't, they were seen 3 or 4 times going up down that road. They were citing a car still.
I understand that. I'm talking about the traffic issue.
The traffic issue, yes.
The breaking, entering the motor vehicle and criminal activity, we're gonna ask for not only our traffic management team to be up there, and I can't promise you guys that we're gonna be there every single day.
Well, no,
That
of
would
course
be
not,
unrealistic.
I'm
But
not
I
asking
wanna be
that.
just
I'm just
completely-
wondering how we as citizens and as a community could increase
So
safety.
I wanna be completely forthcoming with you, and I don't want you to think that I'm promising you something that we can't deliver. But what we can do is make sure that we put this out there for our traffic management team. Also, we have a uniform street crimes team that works with our special investigations division, and they do a lot of street level investigations on things like breaking into burglary of motor vehicles and that sort of thing. They are a very good unit, and a lot of times they will actually supplement our special investigations, which deals with car theft, human trafficking, vice and narcotics, and gangs. And probably what we're looking at, I can't tell you for certain, but based on experience and a lot of training, and I'm sure these officers would agree with me, people who engage in the type of activity that occurred there are typically involved in some type of criminal street gangs. So we get that unit working along with the criminal investigator who has it, and I just confirmed who it was, and he's a very good, very motivated investigator that's working that. We pay attention to that to prevent further incidences if we possibly can. And the investigator that has that case, if he can run somebody down and develop a lead and identify them, he won't stop. And I'll let you speak to some of that too, if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so piggyback on what the chief said, our street crimes guys, the uniform side of the Special Investigations Division, they are very good at going out to areas where we have, say, an uptick in criminal activity, and doing a good job of suppressing some of that stuff. A lot of times, like the chief said as well, some of these folks that come in and do these things, they may not live in the area, they may just be cutting through, passing through, whatever. So we may very well not be able to tell who it is driving the car, pulling the trigger, whatever. But if we can identify the car, and I'm just kind of playing this scenario out from an investigative standpoint, if we can identify the car, if we can get a license plate off the car, figure out who owns the car, lay that car down somewhere, put eyes on it, and start doing investigative, ground level investigative work, we may not be able to charge these people with driving through a neighborhood and shooting up a gun, but guarantee you they're involved in other stuff that we should be able to find a reason to put them in jail. They're either involved in, obviously they're carrying guns, probably shouldn't be, right? They're probably involved in either gang activity, narcotics activity, or some other kind of nefarious stuff. So we don't just focus on, we have to charge them with this particular offense.
No,
we want to try to just get them off the streets as fast as we can.
I'm less concerned with them being charged, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
I'm worried that they're out on the streets
Yeah.
and being the way that they are. I'm more concerned about what we are doing to prevent that from ever happening, or what we can do.
So that's those proactive patrols, and this is what I'm gonna ask you guys to do. A lot of people won't call us when they hear something suspicious, or they think they see something suspicious. We hear it, it didn't seem like a big deal, and just like this gentleman said, you don't have all the staff you need, and you probably got bigger things to do than check on this. It's not true. You would be surprised at how many times a small detail, a small call, has actually broken a case wide open. A lot of times I'll use the example of Timothy McVeigh.
But that relies on the citizens to help you on that.
It does, yes, sir. So that was his arrest, and that is close to home for my family because my wife's grandfather was murdered in the federal building there in Oklahoma City. But that was the result of a traffic stop. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was an expired tag. Something as simple as that. So while that was a proactive stop by a police officer doing just solid basic police work, if you see something that just doesn't look right, that's what we need to know. Don't worry about bothering us. They need to be out there, they need to be doing their work. And if you don't think that you got the service that you needed, we need to know about that so we can make corrections on it. I'm responsible for that. I believe I've given good expectations. I read a charging document every time I swear somebody in, and they get a different one every time they promote with their expectations. And I want to make sure that we're holding people to that standard too. We don't always get it right. Sometimes we're going to mess up, and we're going to have to own that, learn from it, and move forward. But please pick up the phone and give us a call. I said it earlier, the public are the police and the police are the public. The only way we can continue, even if it's just one little tick at a time, moving that needle towards becoming a safer city and safer city and safer city, is if we're all doing it together. And that's not something that I say just to sound good or to make you guys happy. I believe it. and I believe it can be done. But it's a group effort.
Chief, I'll stick up for you for a minute too, but we are having increases in these kind of activities in our neighborhood, but Councilman Griffith and Chief Stringer, you know, we're on the board, the HOA there, and we got Officer King to come out to one of our meetings, and based on picking up on what you said, one of the things he said that we needed to improve, he said our reports of suspicious vehicles are very low. And so we need to report suspicious vehicles in our neighborhood. We got rid of that drug house down by the park too. And Councilman Griffith's put up some new street signs in our district. So we are getting some attention, but
I will say this, I stay one street over.
Right, yeah.
I called when the first shot happened, I was on the phone. I was happy to hear that they already had phone calls about suspicious activity. Before the gunshots were fired,
Right,
they
that's
had
what
phone
they had
calls
said, that they
about
already gotten calls.
suspicious activity. Now, I will say this, I've started calling when I see suspicious automobiles in my neighborhood.
Yeah, it's kinda hard now though, like on Stonebridge, we're getting.
Yeah, well,
But
Stonebridge, we get
that's-
so many cars a day.
Yeah, you don't know.
So
who's-
one of the things that.
And in reference to that, I want to say one thing before I
But
leave.
even at that,
And
if it's an automobile that you're not familiar with, you need to be placing that phone call. Because when I placed the phone call, somebody was parked in front, kind of in between the houses, and I went outside, my son and I went outside to get something out of the car, and they turned their lights off. That's strange. Go back inside, and with me getting up in age, I forgot something in the car, so I went back out, and guess what happened? Same thing happens again. I call the non-emergency number, cop comes out, he knocks up, he calls me, because he said, well, Mr. Johnson, I don't know if you want the people to know who called. No, I want them to know who called. Because if they see that somebody on my street is calling, they'll move on somewhere else. It was the neighbor up the road, daughter, was sitting in front of my yard with the guy. Okay, so they went, talked to her, told them to move to the parent's door and talked to the parent. And I've talked to my neighbors on my street and asked them, if you see something suspicious, call and say something about it. That's gonna bring more police presence to our neighborhood.
Right.
And then hopefully, if it's some kids who are out here hanging with the wrong crowd, they'll go somewhere else and hang out, or go somewhere else and do that. And correct me if I'm wrong, but our proximity to I-10 actually raises the risk for us to have this type of activity going on. So we should be even more diligent in, if, don't care about hurting someone's feelings. Call that non-emergency number and let these guys come do what they do. And I honestly believe that will help bring some of that down in our neighborhood. I've been out there for over 15 years, and I'm like you, I've seen an uptick in things.
Wasn't near like this in 2003.
No, talk to the city manager about it. Chief Stringer and I may have a conversation or two about it. One thing you're not gonna see me doing, I'm not gonna go on social media and make reports. I'm gonna talk to the people who can make something happen, and please encourage your neighbors. Don't go talking about it on social media. Call that non-emergency number, or call 911 if it is an emergency, and get the people out there who can do something about it.
Yeah, so I'll say this too.
And if you're not getting what you want from them as well, I'm here as well. So call me. There's never been an issue if somebody's emailed me or called me with similar issues that I have not responded and followed up on my part. So I want to partner with you, with all the neighborhoods as well, to make sure that your neighborhood remains safe and that there's a paper trail for these.
In support of this young lady asking you, what are you gonna do for my safety as a citizen, as her question was.
Right.
My question is, and I've seen it on my street already, and I'm an old Marine. I walked out there with a 44 Magnum on my hip and they booked. But there was a pickup load of illegals, and I know they were illegals on my street. My question is, in order to support her of is she safe in her community from these type of people? My question
How do you
is,
know they were
does,
illegal?
does our, believe me, I can
How?
tell. And,
Is it because of the,
yeah, I can tell.
how?
My thing is, does our police force of Baytown support our federal agencies, ICE, ATF, DEA, all of that, in taking or capturing these individuals if they're in neighborhoods? Does our city police force support that?
Well, first, ma'am, do you feel as if your question was answered?
I do, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Does our police force support that? Of supporting our federal agencies of the immigration law?
So we're not federal law enforcement officers.
I know you're not, but you have to support them if you detain one and not release them. If one of the federal agencies says, oh, we'll come and get him and release him. My simple question is, does our police force of Baytown support retaining that individual if you retain one until a federal agency picks them up for deportation or whatever?
So, again, we're not federal law enforcement officers, so we're not going out.
I know that.
Okay,
I would
we
say
would
if
like
it was
to
a
stay
criminal,
respectful.
then you would,
So that's what I'm trying to get to, is, I'm just trying to explain so that we put it in context. We're not actually going out saying, hey, can I see your identification, and we're checking for that. If we come across somebody who is wanted for criminal activity, then the system itself is going to kick in. The moment that a person is run through NCIC, if they have a hit and the hit is verified, and they are requested to be detained for another agency, whether it's ICE, the FBI, the DEA, Mont Bellevue, then yes, we do a transfer to that agency so that they can serve their warrants.
Okay. You're not gonna release them to the
No,
street?
so the easy answer is this: we do not conduct civil immigration enforcement.
Correct.
I know you.
We're not checking immigration status. We're not
Local
doing those
doesn't
things.
do immigration.
But
if you happen
let me
to
answer
arrest
I'd like to
one for a
answer your
problem-
questions that you've asked. If we have an individual that has a federal detainer, then we honor that federal detainer.
Okay.
We work with all of our federal partners for valid criminal justice reasons.
Okay. Yeah, I'm aware.
I just feel it's important to make sure that we put it in the appropriate context.
Yeah,
So
local
that everybody has the
enforcement can
information.
enforce immigration, but if you arrest them
Yeah.
for some item,
Yeah.
you can't just throw them back on the street if you have a retainer from some other force.
Correct.
But
I do wanna circle back to your question, ma'am, just to kind of, short answer, so to speak, your question. What are we gonna do? What can you do? One of the two things that we are going to do, two other things that we are going to do, is obviously continue the investigative side of that to try to figure out who these people are that came through there doing all the shooting. The other thing is increase patrols in the area. Now, those patrols will be what we call randomized patrols. It won't be like somebody sits in parks. As you know, we have a finite amount of resources to do an infinite amount of work, right? So those are some of the things that we will be doing moving forward. What we would ask of you and the rest of your community is, y'all know your community better than we do. Y'all live there every day. Y'all know what is normal, right? If you see something that is abnormal, call us. That is literally what we are here for. It is never a burden. It's never too small. You never know how when you call about a loud vehicle or somebody speeding, that might be the tip that we need to solve some major crime, right? So pick up the phone and call us. Whatever it is that you think does not look quite right, we will come out and check it. The reason that is important is because virtually everything that we do these days in policing is data driven, right? And so we look at data to determine where do we allocate our resources to. So if our crime analyst, who does amazing work, if he tells us that in this area there's an uptick of whatever, well then we allocate resources to go do it. And then that kind of brings us back to full circle from the very beginning of our conversations this evening, which is the importance of building good relationships with the members of our community, because you all are truly force multipliers for us, right? The chief said it, the public or the police or the public, right? We cannot be successful to the extent that we need to be successful without y'all's assistance and support, we just can't, because you all are the eyes and the ears for your respective communities. Y'all know what's normal, you know what's not normal. Do not be afraid to pick up the phone and call us. We want to partner with all of y'all to make y'all's community safer, whether it's for speeders, people shooting guns, or whatever the case may be. But it takes all of us working together. So I just wanted to add that to your.
And the follow-up that I would say, because you kind of took the words right out of my mouth. Again, you live there, you know what belongs and what doesn't better than we do.
And when they get caught, Chief Stringer's gonna slow roll them through our neighborhood handcuff for us.
All right, but I think those days are over. Any other, but,
Gentlemen, thank you for your service.
Thank you for your
Thank you,
time,
sir.
sir. This won't, what I'm gonna say won't be lost on this group. The last one, I think it was to a certain degree. I think you were there with us, Mayor. Every neighborhood has a Mrs. Kravitz in it. You know what I'm talking about? From the old TV show Bewitched,
Yeah.
looking through the blinds. And I use that as an example. But everybody has someone, it's a grandmother, it's somebody who's there during the day, and they know everybody in that community, and they see what's going on. Those are the people we need to have good relationships with too. They need to feel comfortable enough to pick up the phone and call us and say, this isn't right, this just doesn't look right. And we may go out and we may check somebody and nothing ever come of it, but who knows what that odd car and the occupants might have been used for or might have been up to, except for an officer going out and making contact with them. And it may be nothing more than, hi, I'm John Stringer, I work with the Baytown Police Department. Just wanted to check and see what was going on today. Do you mind if we talk? It may be nothing more than a consensual encounter. And if they don't want to talk to us, no, I don't want to talk, and they decide to leave, have a good day, sir. You know, that's how this stuff works. But the mission is still accomplished, right? Because the mission is, ultimately, if you think about it, what is, especially in American policing, what is the ultimate overall mission of a police department? It is to reduce harm to the community. And it would be great if we could get to the point where our true measure of productivity was not stats, but qualitative data, where it was not how many arrests we make, how many cars we write tickets to, but somehow how many times we never had to do that in the first place. And we get to the point with that, and the way I'm looking at the future, collecting that, when we can get to that point where it's, do you feel safe in your home? Do you feel safe going out in your front yard and working in your flower bed? I've told these guys one of the things that I hate to see, and I'm actually on a community policing committee with the International Associations of Chiefs of Police. I hate to see bars on windows and doors. Because even if crime stats show that an area has low crime, it's the perception of crime. It's that fear of crime that keeps people inside their houses. And I don't want to live like that, and I don't want you guys to live like that. That's what we're working for, is the point where we can get to the point where hopefully our crime stats are low enough that yes, we're collecting that data, but it's, do you feel safe in your home? Do you feel safe on the sidewalk or in the park? Are you happy with the service you get? Do you know your police officers that are assigned to your zones for 12 hours a day? That's where we're going. And culture change doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't. It's a long process, and there's a lot of social norms within an organization that have to be unlocked and undone, and you have to show the why it's important to change, right? Community policing is not soft on crime, it's actually tougher, because we know who our people are, we have relationships with them, and it helps us to identify criminal activity and the root of criminal activity before it occurs. And when it does occur, there's people like you sitting in this room that can help us get those crimes solved. So, and that's why I appreciate you taking time out of your night to come in here and talk to us, the good and the bad, the hard questions. We will always be transparent, make sure that we give you the information that we can. If it's an ongoing investigation, we have to protect that, right? We can't give out confidential information, personal identity, that sort of thing. But we do want to make sure that we have good relationships with people, that we do our best to intelligently and honestly answer the questions that you ask, to take your suggestions, to take those areas that you're concerned about. Because like I said, I've got 2 teenage daughters. One of them's driving, and then, God help me, in another year and a half, the youngest one's gonna drive, and that one scares me. But I want my kids to be safe when they're driving through these streets. When my 16-year-old daughter stops to get gas at 8 or 9 o'clock at night on the way home, I wanna know that she's safe. You know, those are the things that I think about, not just as a police chief, but as a husband and a father. And that motivates me. And I think we've got some good police officers, and I think they're really starting to buy in, especially our new hires. They understand the value of what we're doing. So, thank you again for your time. It's valuable, and I hope you got something out of this tonight, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions, any more questions?
The 7 policemen you said short on, is that officers, is that including detectives and what have you, or is that just?
It contributes to it, sir. Yeah, it does, it contributes to it, because we can't promote detectives until we have enough on patrol to back it.
Okay. I was just
Yes, sir.
thinking about that.
Okay. Thank you all for attending. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions, any card? Thank you.